Welcome to Teaching and Practicing Fast Pitch Hitting Video 13, the Handshake Grip, Long Punch Drill, and Fire. I'm Coach Dan Hennessy. Use the online practice guide for Video 3 to teach your players. Line up your team members, call out instructions as you demonstrate the movements, and use the words in bold print very often. The Long Punch Drill. Video number 3 builds on videos 1 and 2. It introduces fundamental movements that will quickly bring your players most of the way to knowing how to swing like the champions they will be. I've learned that if you spent 2 practices on video 1 and 2 practices on video 2, you are the type of coach who cares about developing all of your players into excellent hitters. Keep using the hip turn drill when warming up before practices and games because it is the key to properly executing the long punch drill and the swing. At game speed, when you fire your hips after the lift, we want the hips to fire very fast to the front, keeping up with the shoulders, elbows, and bat rather than lagging behind them. The hips have already gotten a slight head start on the shoulders as the back heel lift was executed, making the initial movement of fire feel like your hips are pulling your shoulders into the swing. At fire, we want the elbows to slide forward at the same speed as the hips. Keep your elbows connected with the point of your back hip bone, one elbow behind it and one in front of it, moving at the exact same speed as your hips, slow during the lift and fast during fire. At fire, we want your shoulders, elbows, and hips to turn at exactly the same speed, feeling like they are locked together or connected until your hips are about to stop their turn, at which point the shoulders continue to speed up. Keep your elbows bent during lift and fire, especially as they make contact with the ball. Proper use of the back elbow. The positioning and use of the back elbow is a favorite topic of discussion among coaches and parents of youth players. That's mainly due to the large impact it has on the swing and the apparent simplicity of instructions such as keep your back elbow up. In actuality, teach them right and it will bring your players a long way toward having a great swing. Teach your hitters to stay relaxed and to keep their elbows in the letter A position during setup, load, step, lift, and fire. Here's why. Having the back elbow lifted higher encourages early dropping of the elbow, which almost always triggers early dropping of the back shoulder and early lifting of the front shoulder, commonly referred to as dropping the hands. A high back elbow also makes it very hard to correct the early slotting of the back elbow, which usually causes the elbow to shoot forward and lead the hands into the swing. This, in turn, causes the bat head to drop early, leading to a weak and inconsistent swing. If you haven't already noticed this with some of your players, take a look at a video of their swings in slow motion. By contrast, in a high-quality swing, you will see that the batter's back elbow will not get ahead of her hands at any point in the swing. I tell hitters to feel your back elbow staying behind the hands and bat, pushing them forward. Additionally, it is very important to teach hitters to hold their back elbow out away from their stomach as their elbow comes forward. This puts the top hand into a better position, leading to better contact. The first time a batter does this, she will normally feel the improved back control in her hands. The coach should occasionally stand in front of each player as they do long punches to observe and correct the movement of her elbows. Keeping your front elbow down in the letter A position until your elbows have slid forward an inch or two during fire is a way to help avoid these back elbow problems, as well as the early raising of the front shoulder. To the batter, it feels like keeping the elbows on a tabletop as they slide forward the first 2 inches during fire. Ask your players to visualize a tabletop under their elbows while in their stance and while they start their elbows forward the first 2 inches. The tabletop disappears as the bat starts coming down. Proper use of the hands and bat. From the start of the swing until contact, the hands should move straight to the pitcher on the horizontal plane. In particular, as the elbows, hands, and bat start to come forward the first 2 inches, the elbows should stay bent so the hands cannot move out from the shoulders nor in toward the shoulders. On the vertical plane, the elbows must stay down on the imaginary tabletop so the hands will never move upward as they move toward the pitcher. The elbows should keep the hands at shoulder level during a swing at the highest strike, or pull them increasingly downward for swings at pitches lower than the top of the zone. Please note that I try to refer to the proper use of the elbows when instructing the players rather than mentioning the hands. It greatly simplifies the player's implementation of what you are asking them to do and prevents a lot of problems that can creep into their swings. At all times, your elbows should keep your hands above where you expect the ball to be at contact. That causes the bat head to be below the hands at contact on almost all swings. Your bat head should start to turn down only after your elbows have started to slide forward, not at the same time. Think about your elbows rather than your hands as the bat starts to turn down. Keep your elbows bent. The front shoulder will start to come up, but do not let it pull the front elbow straight. When a player does a long punch drill, she stops her bat, arms, and body at a contact point that she visualizes. At the contact point during every swing, be sure your bottom hand, closest to the knob of the bat, is moving toward the pitcher just as hard as the top hand is, rather than starting to pull away from the pitcher. Most coaches incorrectly allow players to use this pulling motion with the bottom hand at contact, and many even teach players to do it. I do not, because it opens the door to a common accuracy concern called rolling the wrists at contact, which leads to a weaker swing among youth players. Rolling the wrists just before or during contact causes the bat head to move slightly upward, causing inconsistent results such as topping the ball. The reason it leads to a weaker swing is because pulling the bottom hand toward the catcher normally pulls the lead shoulder toward the catcher, often causing the whole body to lean slightly back away from the ball. The batter should maintain an excellent athletic stance through contact with no movements of any body parts back toward the catcher during lift and fire. Additional recommendations concerning the long punch drill. If your players are somewhat experienced, you might find it helpful to tell them that we do not extend through the pitch or finish the swing as part of the long punch drill. When your players are familiar with the drill, gradually add speed and intensity up to game speed for load, step, and lift, but in order to stop the bat at the contact point, fire at only half of game speed while doing the long punch drill. Have your players continue to say load, step, lift, fire as they execute this drill. It is important during the initial weeks of learning and practicing these new techniques that the coaches remind the players often to do the following. Move mechanically with relaxed shoulders and arms. Keep your body level so your eyes don't move up or down. Remove any extra motions with your shoulders, hands, and arms, especially any extra preparation motions during the load, step, and lift. The handshake grip. Almost all youth players use the traditional palm grip to hold the bat. It looks like this. The handshake grip works much better because it uses the fingers to guide the bat more precisely, and it unlocks the hands to allow a better whipping action. However, some players' hands are too small to use the handshake grip effectively. If that's the case for most of your players, wait a year or two to introduce it. On the other hand, if only a few have small hands, just tell those players to do the best they can and not to worry about it. Their hands will be big enough in a year or two. Many people have seen or heard about using a finger grip to hold the bat. It looks like this. By contrast, the handshake grip looks like this. The hands are fully closed around the handle, but the fingers are slightly spread apart and are messy looking. The handshake grip works better than the finger grip because the finger grip is usually weaker and it has the same negative effect on accuracy at contact as the palm grip. My handshake grip instructions start with the batter putting her left hand, for righties, a finger width from the knob as shown here. The finger width gap is simply to keep the knob of the bat from rubbing too hard against the edge of the batter's palm. The bat handle should cross the palm at 2 points, where the heart line ends at the edge of the hand, see arrow number 1, and across the top bend of the index finger, see arrow number 2. Next, fold the fingers around the handle, carefully maintaining the position of the bat in the palm. Then wrap the thumb around the handle, again maintaining the position of the bat in the palm. Next, set your top hand snug up against your bottom hand using the same gripping technique as with the bottom hand. Then lift your bat to your shoulder. All players of every age should keep their hands together so they operate as a single connection to the bat, providing better control and whipping action. Separated hands can make the bat feel lighter to a young player, but her swing improvement will probably lag behind most other players, causing her frustration. Next, press your wrists down to almost line up your door-knocking knuckles. This is important for putting your hands and arms in the best position for consistently swinging accurately and powerfully. But be sure your players do not completely line up their door-knocking knuckles like this. That causes their elbows to come too close to the body, restricting their swing. Lastly, keep your hands closed on your bat, fingers and palms closed, until you have swung. Opening your hands encourages the elbows to come up before or during the swing, compromising accuracy and power. Have your players close their hands during setup and keep them closed. If you let a player wait to close them until the pitch is coming in, you and the player might not recognize it if she starts closing them improperly, using a flawed grip that messes up her swing. Setting up in the batter's box is the time to go through your routine to settle down and relax. That includes getting your hands settled on the bat. That's it for my teaching and practicing video 13, the handshake grip, long punch drill, and fire. Thanks for watching it. Please return to my YouTube channel called Fastpitch Coaching to select video number 4 or whichever video you would like to see next. Also, please go to my website, fastpitchcoaching.com, for free access to my online practice guides and weekly video blogs.